Okay, good evening. We are live. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my co-host, Miss Georgette Truan. Miss G, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
And we have a very special guest tonight, another attorney from New York, Mr. Michael Descharo. Michael, how are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
It's good. You're across the country, and are people having CPS problems over in New York?
Oh, it is a staggering amount of problems, and I get calls from all over the country because these agencies are absolutely horrific.
By the way, what is your telephone number? Let me put it in the comment section.
Sure. Let's give you a standby.
I have your number, but I don't know if you want to give them your cell. But
no, it's 855-484-3069.
Okay, I'm going to put your number. If I spelled your name correctly. And we're streaming to 8 social media sites right now on YouTube and in Facebook. So I've just put your name. Anybody that's listening tonight, and I'll put it again, because other listeners or other viewers will be coming on as the stream goes on. And additionally, this stream will live forever on the internet, on these social media pages. So people will be seeing your number, and hopefully they'll be giving you a call.
And I will put you on my TikTok.
Very good. Very good.
But I want to let you know, Attorney Davis, that I was just talking to Michael, and he said that I asked him if he takes old cases, like, been TPR'd or almost TPRing. And he said he takes like cases less than 2 years. That's been in the system less than 2 years. Am I right, Michael?
Yeah, I try to stay away from old cases because, like you can imagine, in the city it's different because there's people can make so many mistakes. The attorneys that handled it before, and it's just not worth it. Especially when people come in at the last minute when they want to fight. Like because ACS, it's called ACS in New York City. It's a really, really nasty agency, and they really abuse parents in really awful ways.
Yep, it's everywhere, Michael.
I'm sure it's the same. I get a million messages a day, and I'm sure it's the same everywhere.
Yes.
So, Michael, let me get some background information on you. So, you're licensed in New York.
Yes.
Any other states?
New Jersey, but I don't go there.
Okay. And how long have you been a lawyer?
Since 2001.
Okay. So that's a while. You've been a lawyer a while.
Yeah.
Are you practicing primarily in CPS cases or exclusively in CPS cases?
I'd say about 70-30. The other 30% is criminal defense. I used to be a prosecutor.
Oh, okay. Used to be a district attorney in New York?
Yeah, in the Bronx.
Wow.
How long were you a district attorney?
6 years.
How did you fall into or get into CPS cases?
It was kind of a funny story. My friend had a CPS case. It's called ACS here, and I helped him out. I walked into court, and I was expecting, I'm a prosecutor, so I was expecting evidence, right?
Sorry.
Right? Look at it, laughing. I was expecting procedure. I was expecting a process, and I was horrified. And then I started doing more and more, and that's how it started. And it's shocking what they do here. I also do a lot of investigation cases, meaning cases that haven't gone to court yet. They try to stop them from filing what we call a petition. What do you guys call it in California?
Petition. And we do a lot of investigative cases. As a matter of fact, before the show today, I was talking to a woman who has an investigative case in Los Angeles County, and she's being harassed, and they won't tell her why, and she wants me to get them off her back.
When you're in California, what do you tell clients? Don't talk, and we'll do the talking for you.
Yeah. What I tell people, and it always gets misquoted, either sometimes by the client, sometimes by the social worker. I tell people do not talk to a CPS worker or agent unless, and this is the important part, unless I'm there in person or on the phone. And that always gets reported to the judge. Oh, Davis told his client not to talk to the worker. That's half true, Judge. That's half true.
I feel like I'm talking to myself. So we have something here called a child safety conference. Do you know what you guys have something similar?
Probably.
So it's when the ACS brings in the parents and they jump them. They have this meeting for 2 hours. They attack them. Okay. And
CFT. It's called a CFT here.
Okay. In New York, lawyers are not allowed.
Well, you know what? That's interesting you say that, because that used to be the rule here going back, until I started doing this. And I thought, well, wait a minute. Anytime you deal with a government agent, you have a constitutional right to have representative. And so for a long time, they tried to keep me out. And my response was, well, if you don't want to meet with me and my client, you won't be meeting with anyone.
Same exact thing here.
Now, here's something that interesting that came up in a civil rights case against a social worker. The defense attorney, very good law firm, was concerned that we were prosecuting a 1983 claim in part based upon the fact that the social worker would not allow an attorney to be present at the first CFT meeting. And from talking to her, I realized that that's a constitutional rights violation.
No doubt.
Now, it's interesting that you say New York, you can't do it. Now, is there a statute prohibiting you?
Aha. Until I made a motion to the court. Because what they do is they say, oh, they didn't attend a child safety conference to try to make a negative thing with the judge.
Right.
So I, very recently, I've got 2 appeals decisions here that are in New York that are very important. So I went to the judge, and this is part of timing, because a lot of times you don't get involved in the beginning. So I already had a judge assigned because they filed some motion to do something. And I filed a motion with the judge, and I said, based on the case law, I should be there. And it sent shockwaves through ACS because the judge ruled in my favor, and they didn't have the hearing. They didn't have the meeting because I was going to be allowed, and they don't want me. I'm known. They know me. They know they probably have a picture of me with bullet holes in it in their offices.
Did you make any argument based upon the Constitution, or was it all statutory or equity?
Well, it goes deeper than that, because we had a case where I had a judge in Queens. We have 5 different boroughs here. So a judge in Queens said I could not appear on FaceTime with my client when the CPS worker was visiting. So she made that ruling. Okay. So I appealed her to the appellate division and what we call the mid-level appeals. And they ruled 5-0 in my favor.
Right.
And that sent shockwaves throughout. And now they know. So I used that case and another case where CPS here does something nasty where they don't speak to attorneys, CPS workers. That's a policy from ACS. They do not speak to attorneys. And I took another case to an appeal where they wouldn't speak to me. And the appeals judges, again, the very first question appeals judges asked ACS was, you wouldn't speak to the attorney. How does that help the child? And that was like, I watched them just fall down.
Right.
Because they're so corrupt, and it's such a game of comply. And then you get to the point where you comply so much that you're screwed, because they will claim you said things you didn't say. And I'm sure you deal with this.
Right. But as a policy, I don't talk to social workers unless I have written permission, text, email, from in California, their county council that represent the social workers. And unless they give me permission, because I always looked at it as if, the social workers are a represented party, right? They have an attorney. So I'm going to respect that attorney-client relationship unless they give me permission. Now, a lot of workers, it's kind of funny. A lot of workers want to talk to me, and a lot of workers don't want to talk to me because, part of my practice is we sue social workers for civil rights violations.
Right.
And the last thing they want to be doing is talking to me,
right?
About something, kind of violation that they may have committed.
Right. Here we have a situation where when the investigation starts, there's no attorney assigned, right?
Right. Same thing.
So I can't, and they always tell me, I tell the ACS worker, give my number to your attorney, and they never do. They don't even do it. So what happens is they'll be on FaceTime and they're trying to speak to my client. I say, my client's not speaking to you. And I record everybody. And it usually works when I get involved in a lead investigation. I imagine you too. Once the client doesn't talk and doesn't give them anything, they walk away.
I wish it was like that here. Here, they sometimes take it as a personal slap in the face,
Right.
and come after the person even harder.
Right.
And it's been reported, I'm not there, but it's been reported that social workers sometimes say things that aren't exactly what the client says, or outright says something completely different than what the client says.
And they tell the ACS workers here, tell clients, parents, you don't get a lawyer. We're not in court yet.
Right. Something similar goes on here.
You can get a lawyer to buy a cup of coffee. I mean, and the right to counsel in New York is more heavily protected than the federal Constitution. We have a bigger ceiling.
Uh-huh.
So the courts here are jealously guard the right to counsel. And it's been, I haven't lost anything on appeal because ACS, CPS here is just highly incompetent in so many ways. And they're vindictive.
Did you say competent or incompetent?
Highly incompetent.
Incompetent, okay.
Yeah. I just did a podcast where me and my guy I work with, we just told our crazy CPS stories. And it's just outrageous what they do to parents. But their secret weapon is nobody knows them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a cop shows up at your door, everybody straightens up, right? The cops are here. CPS worker shows up and the parent's own innocence works against them.
Mm-hmm.
I've done nothing wrong. Sure, come see my child. Oh, you missed a doctor's appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like you're nodding as if like I'm talking to a mirror. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It seems like it's the same thing everywhere.
You know that case that I told you I was talking to a person right before the show? The worker told her that her doctor reported her because she missed a monthly appointment with one of her children.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't gotten into, well, what malady does your child have? And is it,
Right.
life-threatening? I haven't gotten to that part. But yeah, she was reported because she missed an appointment. And here's the funny thing. And I see this a lot. And there's a book on it that talks about it, written by a social worker from LA County called Medical Kidnap.
Yeah.
The doctor got mad. Well, she's taking her kids to the doctor at this hospital, and it's been an ongoing relationship. But because of travel, she decides to change hospitals and doctors to something closer to her home because she's on public transportation. And in order to do that, because she's on public assistance, Medi-Cal type of thing, she has to get the old doctor's signature. He refuses. He refuses to sign. And the mother decided to make that transition anyway. And he reported the old doctor reported her.
It's a classic scenario. I mean, we have something called Cone's Children's Hospital, and these child abuse study teams. These are hammers looking for a nail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they go in and they say, what the problem with a medical doctor is once a medical doctor says medical testimony, you have to get your own expert, right? And that's expensive, as we know. A lot of people can't afford that. We had one particular doctor, Jody Hoffman Rosenberg. She was Hoffman Rosenfeld. She was famous. She got sued a bunch of times because she would just manufacture cases. And that's what she did.
Did people prevail in lawsuits against her?
I don't know. There's one going on in Long Island. She messed with the wrong guy. She messed with his family, who was extremely wealthy. So obviously that makes a difference.
Right.
All times they attack, in the city, they attack low income parents who have no way. I get calls every day from parents who can't afford an attorney. So that's just the reality of the business.
When people in New York are taken to court on a CPS case, if they can't afford a private attorney, are they given an attorney by the state or county?
Yes.
And is that some type of like court appointed panel or anything?
There's a panel and there's legal aid.
Oh, legal aid helps folks in CPS cases.
Yeah, their version. Yeah, their version of legal aid. Yeah, it's a family court legal aid.
Interesting. We don't have that in California.
You have appointed. You have a panel people.
Yeah, just panel.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I was on the panel for seems like about 13, 14 years in Los Angeles County. I had a caseload of about 400 cases. And one of the reasons why I stopped being a court-appointed attorney was because I almost lost a woman, her 5 children, mainly because I had too many cases and I wasn't able to adequately service, 400 cases.
Who could? I mean, who could? Nobody can handle that caseload.
Right. So I walked, it was a contested, at that time, what they used to call the PPH, but it was a contested 12-month hearing, and they were going to terminate her family reunification services. And I walked into court, and I'm walking down the hallway, and they have a big waiting room or reception area on every floor. And I looked over before I walked into the courtroom, and I saw my client there, and I'm thinking, wonder what she's doing here today. I go in the courtroom, and this judge he was an old-fashioned judge. He used to do calendar calls. He used to make everybody come in on the calendar calls, right? So we do a calendar call. She comes in, and I'm thinking, why is she coming in? And of course, I thought to myself, well, maybe I didn't call her back, too busy to call her back. And, maybe number 6 or number 7 on the calendar, judge calls her name and her case. And he looks at me and he goes, it's there for trial. And he looks at me, he goes, Mr. Davis, are you ready? No, Judge, I'm not ready. Second call. No file, no witnesses, nothing. She's about to lose her 5 kids.
Oh.
He ended up giving me a continuance. And because I was just I was going to fall on my sword, right? I wasn't going to let this lady lose 5 kids because of my stupidity or, I dropped the ball. So he continued the case, I think 10 days or 2 weeks or something. I got all my witnesses there. We won. And the next day I quit. Yeah, I resigned from the panel.
Nobody can handle 400 cases. That's just human.
There's been cases I'm thinking of one where people have sued their court-appointed attorney because they had too many cases. Did you know that?
I've heard of stuff like that. And look at the position you're in, right? I mean, you're just trying
to. There's a famous case. I think it's either Mississippi or Georgia, where the minors' councils were sued, and a 3-panel U.S. District Court decision came out and said they set the number of cases that any attorney that was representing children, at least, could carry, and it was only I think it was 60 or 65. I don't remember the exact number.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But before that they had 250.
That's not you can't work. It's not possible.
So I don't know, I don't keep up with court-appointed attorneys these days, but it was sometimes it turned out not to be a good thing. Miss G and I have a big disagreement about this. Having known court-appointed attorneys, having been a court-appointed attorney, I think it's like a bell curve, in statistics. There's a few that are very good. There's a few that are really bad. And there's a lot just in the middle. Miss G believes all court-appointed attorneys are no good. And I tell her that I don't agree with that. What's been your experience, Michael?
I think you're right about the bell curve. I think there's some that are extremely diligent, and then there are others that but the non-diligence comes from the overwork and the the big base load.
Right.
I don't know of any that are. I mean, I don't know of any that are just stupid, or they just have 100 cases. Is 50 cases is doable. 100 is not.
Right.
100 real cases is not.
In all of your years of doing CPS cases, what do you think the most important thing a parent should know?
I actually wrote parents a little manual.
Oh, great.
I made a little manual. It's Combating CPS, the manual. It's
nice.
It's very easy to read. Anybody could read it.
Awesome.
How can our viewers get a free copy of that?
It's on Amazon. If you have Kindle, it's free.
Perfect.
But the most important thing is do not speak to CPS.
Thank you. Yes.
That is the number one. In New York, if you don't speak to them, they have no oxygen.
Mm-mm.
They drown in their own filth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, I'm very like when I do a criminal case, I don't view the prosecutors as these villains, because I was a prosecutor, and ultimately they're tempered by a jury. Ultimately, you have to bring this case in front of 12 people or 6. And that tempers things. That makes everybody say, what do I really have here? And here, and just like across the country, it's just judges, right? So they know the judge, or they know the way the judge is. And some judges, well, I was in front of a judge. I have never been in front of a nastier judge in my life. She is simply, she might as well just work for ACS because she's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So the solution I've advocated is we need jury trials in CPS cases. If you let parents judge parents,
mm-hmm.
the caseload will go down 90%.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed.
Do you know that in some states you are able to get a jury trial if you want?
Which states? Because I haven't been able to find one.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma is one of them.
Is it? I heard Arizona's trying to pass it, but that is the antiseptic, because if I had a jury trial, I would probably have lost, not because I'm so great, but because the facts aren't there. I would probably have lost 2 cases. You know, it's really ridiculous what they do with these cases and with these judges. And I just had one last week where on the eve of trial they dismissed the case. And after keeping a guy out of his house away from his family for 6 months. So I filed suit on that case because that, but they fight hard because of the funding the funding that CPS gets is hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right. Tell us what your understanding of that is.
My understanding is the federal government, and the state governments, and the local governments, and the politicians, as soon as they hear child abuse, they just open the wallet. And we have a situation here, ACS, children die under their supervision, and they get more money. They get a new commissioner, and they get more training and more money. The budget here is $3.2 billion for the city. For ACS. What? $3.2 billion.
Oh,
yeah.
I think you're beating out LA County.
Let me just go for 2023. I don't know what the budget is this year.
Oh my God.
We have $100 billion budget in the city. This year's it was $2.7 billion. So
oh my God.
When there's that much money, you have to have customers. McDonald's needs customers, right? So does CPS.
That's right.
That's where it comes from, and that's where everything. And they do this. They do some. So I practice in Manhattan, and I've been in some apartments that are worth $40 million. And the CPS worker will come in and check the fire alarm. Like, this is a $30 million apartment, and they come and they give my client the fire alarm.
Mm-hmm.
In these apartments, everything's electronic. I was like, they don't need, but they have a program where they give out fire alarms to people, and then they write a report. We gave out 1 million fire alarms. Yeah, we saved people. Meanwhile,
oh my God.
People don't. In New York City, it's a law to have you can't have an apartment without a fire alarm,
mm-hmm.
a functioning fire alarm. So it is funding, and funding. That's what I see over here.
But isn't the funding supposed to be for the parents? Not, am I right? Isn't the funding supposed to be for the parents, not for the foster parents?
The funding is supposed to help the children,
right? And the parents, right?
Yeah, if
the
you
biological parents, right?
Instead, every child that gets taken to foster care to me is $50,000 a year, easy. Because you have the foster care agency. Do you guys have foster care agencies?
Yep.
Yeah. You have the foster care agency. You have the foster parent, and you have therapists attached to every case. Because everybody needs therapy. Everybody's spinning that dime. Everybody's spinning that dollar. And that's where it comes from. I once had a child move from one foster care agency to another. I was in court. The entire leadership of the foster care agency showed up. And I said, why are these people so concerned about this kid? Then I realized money. So they're losing about $1,200 a month. Somebody's got to be held accountable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you believe that sex trafficking exists with children in CPS custody?
I
mean, I heard it from an FBI agent. He's actually all over YouTube right now and social media.
Are there opportunities because the system is so weak that children get exposed to sex trafficking? Absolutely.
Yeah. I've seen leaving them in homes for sex traffic. Like people who actually have records against them. And I'm like, why do you choose that?
We've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that over. We just saw it in Chicago. They gave a foster care child to a pimp. An actual
pimp.
An actual pimp. She was 16 years old and she had been trafficked. And the psychiatry report said she needs deep therapy, inpatient, like at a facility because she was. God. But no one. The children are the last thing on their mind. But they come in with this mantle that we protect children. So it's, I could go as negative. And people always ask me, you speak really negative. I was like, if you knew what I knew, if you see what I've seen, you would be more negative. I can't be negative enough. I just can't.
Oh, I can't. I understand exactly your passion too. I really despise CPS. I despise everything they stand for because I was telling Davis and the viewers that I do know 3 now previous social workers. One of them was an investigative social worker. Me and her, we've known each other for quite some time now, and she showed me some ugly truth. She resigned from the agency. She told me that when she went to training, she went to apply. She's in LA County. She went to apply in a specific office in LA County. The supervisor told her, you leave your training where you were, and here you follow my rules. And do you know what her rules are? Go to this home, blah, 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 blah. There was an anonymous call made. She has a brand new baby. We have a foster home that wants to adopt that baby. It was biracial baby.
And the parents have no idea. The
parents have no idea.
The parents have no idea that there's this beast at the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's this Hun at the gate. In the form of a cute little girl or a nice old lady. And she's just asking questions. They don't know what's behind her.
No.
And once kids get taken, here we have a huge racial disparity. Most kids are Black and Hispanic, taken into custody, into foster care. I'm sure it's the same way in LA.
Same here. Yep.
And
they choose what type of baby they want.
Sure. And when I have white babies, I'm being real here. This is what happens. I'm extra careful because I know that ACS likes to take them to pad their stats.
Yep.
To say, oh, we took, we're not racist. We took 10 white kids last month or whatever.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, probably. Oh. Yep.
I had a 5-year-old that was in foster care firm. It was absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
His interview, he lied about it. The kid's 5 years old. He lied about everything.
Like, have you seen
cases? I met Superman last week. He's fine. He goes, my brother, he doesn't have a brother.
Have you had cases where they copy and paste from somebody else's report? And it was like you can see the name of that person?
No, I haven't had that yet.
Oh, really? Yeah. In LA, yeah.
We have this cute little word. The ACS here has this cute little word, insight. Insight is an amorphous term that nobody can really define, but they'll say the parent has no insight into their conduct.
Whoa.
And so they'll do I just had one. We also have corrupt agencies here that provide services.
Mm-hmm.
And my client went to this corrupt agency. This guy had an agency in Staten Island. He was also a part-time rapper. So he would do the agency, and his name was diverse. That was his rap name. That's qualifications for being a therapist for fathers. And he said, my client had no insight. All right, so I subpoenaed him, and we're going to see what he says in court.
Does he have any qualifications to be a therapist?
Absolutely not that I can find.
Exactly.
And my client went to them, and they go, how much do you make? My client makes a good amount of money. She goes, all right, we'll put you down for $25,000. That way you qualify for this. Absolute fraud.
Wow.
Defrauding the state, but it's all about the funding.
Yep.
We have shelters here. We have a huge housing crisis here. LA is the same way, right?
Yep.
And the shelters are just feeding grounds. You ever see sharks when they find a dead whale? It's like that. They just go and take the kids right from the shelter.
Yep.
And mom gets, mom's already stressed because she's in a shelter. It's not the best situation. But it's cute. It's cute when we run into, when I have extremely wealthy clients and they run into ACS. And I had one where the neighbor was a cinematographer. So he calls his neighbor. We're there. The guy's got like those gigantic movie cameras. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. The ACS worker came in. She had this in her face. I said, everything you say is going to be recorded on video. I'll give you a copy. And that's Mr. Smith. He's the videographer. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. We actually filmed her sprinting out of the house because they don't want to be on tape. Do you tell people to record people? To record the CPS worker?
Well,
what's that like in California?
Well, California is the two-party rule.
Well, I'm talking about video recording when they come to the house.
Yeah, but you have to tell them that they're being video recorded.
Oh, yeah, we do. That's the first thing we do. The cameras.
And most of the time when they say that, of course, there's not going to be any meeting where they try to convince them to turn it off.
Yeah, they say, I don't wish to be recorded. Well, don't be in my house.
I
like this child profiting services. I like that. I'm going to start using that. Nice job, Bernard.
I try to tell people, CPS, they're not officers of the court. They're not officers of the law, so to speak. They don't carry guns, although every once in a while they try to pass legislation here in California to allow them to carry concealed weapons. But you don't have to do what a social worker says.
I have cases where the ACS worker comes in and tells dad to move out of the house.
Yep.
And he does.
Right.
I was like, we follow two orders in this society: a cop in the street and a judge.
Right.
That's it. Everybody else can go, I don't know if I can curse on here.
I curse all the time.
Yeah, they can go fuck themselves because
Thank you.
I've had a million ACS workers. I'm like, you have absolutely no authority. You haven't filed a petition. We are not making any statements. The Constitution of the State of New York applies here. My clients have the constitutional right to have an attorney. That is me. It's protected by the New York and the federal state constitution. So go learn it. And they'll say to me, we're not in court yet. I said, you can hire an attorney to buy a cup of coffee. Go learn.
Wow. You know who you remind me of? I think I told you that in a text message, Ron DeSantis. You remind me so much of him. Oh my God.
I don't get into politics at all. So I'm not
I know, but you remind me of him. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not going to reply.
I know you're not.
I tried desperately. So my TikTok channel is NYC Law Guy. Do you have TikTok, Vince?
I know what TikTok is. I am told that I have it. I am told that I'm going to have a TikTok, that I have a TikTok channel. I'm not sure about it, but I will tell you this. There used to be a guy that worked for me, and he left. He went out on his own, and he recently joined the public defender's office in a county here in California. He had the greatest TikTok ads ever.
Yeah.
What kind of work? CPS work?
CPS work. And I remember meeting someone, a potential new client, who told me, I'm going to hire Mr. So-and-so because I love his TikTok videos. and I started watching them and I'm thinking, wow, these are great.
It happened. I put up a TikTok video of so I have about 330,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow.
It's all because of CPS.
Do you have music on it and everything?
No.
No,
not really. No.
It's just me speaking about the issues, and people love two things. When I give them information about CPS, the whole nation loves that. And when I'm a big proponent of, I used to be a prosecutor. I have dear friends that are great cops. So I'm a big proponent of good cops.
Yeah. And
I tell people, this is what a good cop is, and this is what a bad cop is. So they love when I correct an officer's actions. But the CPS stuff is what really, one of my videos has 6 million hits. The other one has 2 million because CPS is a problem nationwide. From what I've learned.
It's countrywide now.
Yeah. I heard it was, and I heard from what I get, it's Arizona, California, and Texas are the worst.
All of them are bad, even in Hawaii and United Kingdom and some
Oh yeah, it's
somewhere
all
in
the
Africa,
same.
Zimbabwe, I think, or something like that. I'm like, what the? It makes no sense. They're opening CPS everywhere,
It's
everywhere.
it's a moneymaker. It's really, they remove 155 children a month in New York City. Now make that kid $50,000 a year, and how much are we talking? There are 400,000 kids in foster care in this country. How much? That's billions of dollars. And people are eating on that, right? Agencies, therapists, and parents have no idea they're facing this juggernaut. Like I said before, everybody's afraid of the cops when they come to the door. They have no idea who this little old lady, there's $1 billion behind her.
Yep. And it's called job security for the rest, though. Nancy Schaefer, she was the senator for Georgia.
Yeah.
She spoke very much about CPS. So when she exposed them and Bill Clinton, she lost her seat on the Senate. She lost her seat. This woman was amazing. And then she was murdered. Then, of course, they framed it on her husband, which is bullshit. But,
Wow.
They kind of like, yeah, we know it's you did it, you assholes. But the thing about it is that they literally send her death threats. Death threats.
I firmly believe it.
Yep.
People always ask me, "Are you afraid of AC?" I have one child. He's 12. But he knows more law than all the ACS workers combined. So I'm not worried.
No. They want you to be you see, they like to bully us. That's the thing.
They love it.
They're nothing to me. They're nothing. They're like I can honestly tell you,
I can see it.
You can see it.
I can see that anger. I was lied to in court. The ACS worker said he never texted me. Talking about me. I said, okay. I took my phone out. I said, here you go, Judge. I gave her my phone. I said, check it out. Right in front of everybody. I was like, you can look at my phone. You want to look at the pictures? Have fun. It's just I can't speak badly enough about them. I've challenged every one of ACS to debate. I sent it to the commissioner. I sent it to the head of legal. There's a guy named Alan Sputz, who's the head of legal for CPS. I said, listen, man, anytime you want to talk about this, we'll set up 2 podiums in Times Square, and it'll be just me. You bring whoever you want. You bring whoever you want. I'll be there. I'll be there by myself. I don't need anybody else. Time magazine has a thing they talk about issues. We'll go to New York Times. We'll go to their podiums. I'll be by myself. I'll guarantee you. I'll bring nobody else because you're liars and you're a fraud and you're not. I can't say the same thing about the DA's office, right? Because there's actual people that need to go to jail. That's just the reality.
But do you notice that they usually focus on the kids? They focus on kids who are not being abused, but then they turn away from kids who are being abused. I've noticed a lot of kids. CPS been called on these parents, but they don't remove them until the parents kills them or the boyfriend kills them. And then they focus on the other side. I don't get it because I can't have
you get it. No,
because he's playing. You get it now, right?
You get it. No, you get it because if I'm a mechanic, right? If I'm a mechanic and I'm sitting next to a brand new Lamborghini and I go, hey, I fixed this car. Well, it was never broken. So when they get a good family, they like to put them in services. Then they write a report a year later says, we put the Smith family in services. And now they're great. They were never broken. The real issues are the kids that are in the shelters who are suffering. They don't help them. We have 60,000 kids in shelters. 60,000 homeless kids. That $3 billion budget should go to them.
Thank you.
They need it. But that's not what they're doing because they like to attack. I had a couple that went to Egypt and the baby developed a rash because Egypt has bad diapers. They came back and they're like, oh, that looks like child abuse. Okay.
Yeah.
I went to 2 doctors. 2 doctors gave us a clean bill of health. And I said, there you go. Enjoy.
But you know what else they do? They actually intimidate doctors and bully them. They're going to lose their license to practice medicine if they don't announce, and if they don't say on record that this child is being abused, even though doctors don't see anything.
I've had that, and I had one hero doctor. I'll never forget this guy. Every time ACS came to him, you know how they write those notes in the files? He literally documented in gigantic letters, absolutely no sign of any child abuse, and they hated him for it. they would try to say things he said and never said it, but I had the reports, so
Yep.
it's
But
still they're a fraud.
But some doctors do go for it, though. A
Yeah.
lot of doctors in LA, especially LA County, I'm telling you the God honest truth. In California, doctors are idiots because they are intimidated by these people.
It's a
I
power
look
of
at a
the
social, yeah, I saw a social worker in Starbucks one time, long time ago, and I seen it on my show. I literally looked at her and she was, bragging about how good she is and how great her job is. It's so easy. She was talking, you know being a social worker. And I just I was listening to her. And then after she got her drink, I followed her and I said,
You're
you're an idiot. I said, how old are you? 19?
Mrs. G has swallowed. You have drank the Kool-Aid. I love it.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Davis doesn't love it, but thank you.
I love it. I love it anytime I expose them on. I mean,
Yep.
my TikTok is perfect vehicle because I talk about, I put up decisions. I'll call them out, and they're harming the children.
Yes, they are.
They're harming America's children for profit. That's all they're doing. The vast majority of children in foster care should not be there.
Oh, but did you hear about the kids who are being removed from their parents because they support Donald Trump on the sign on their yard? Did you hear about that?
I'm not getting into politics, Mrs. G.
I know you're not, but they do that. And a lot of people called me and they told me, Miss G, told us we have to take our sign out. And I said, what does that have to do with your kids? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But then when they go to the judge, they tell the judge a complete different story. And the recording, their Ring camera recording or whatever camera they're recording they have outside home, it shows the social worker telling them to remove the sign or else they're going to remove their children, and the judge would not allow it in court.
Mrs. G's been through the storm. I love it. Mrs. G's one of mine.
Michael, I have a question for you. In California, hearsay is admissible when used by the social worker. Even multiple or totem pole hearsay is admissible.
Totem pole hearsay.
Remember that from law school? Totem pole hearsay.
Yeah. He said, she said, he said, yeah.
Right. So what about New York? They use hearsay there?
Yes. And when you do what's called a 1028 hearing, it's called an imminent risk hearing. So they snatch the kids. I file 1028, which would do imminent risk. Hearsay is allowed there, but not at trial. But the statements of the child are under the statute.
Oh, it's full blown, all out hearsay and
all out hearsay by an adult at a trial.
By anybody.
By anybody, yeah. I like these. I've done felony criminal jury trials, right? Mm-hmm. And then I go to ACS court, and sometimes I don't even bring a pen. Like it's like an argument at a bar with your buddies talking about the Jets. It's the most. It's just so bad, and luckily we have some judges that are good. You guys have some good judges over there?
No.
The answer is yes, we do.
Okay, Mrs. G's too. All right, she's hardcore, man. She's like a. She's like she's a fundamentalist. She's like Al Qaeda.
Let me tell you what the problem is, Michael.
No, don't. Please don't. Please don't.
Not with Miss G. I'm talking about the system.
Okay.
I mean, I could write my own book about Miss G, but but here's the problem. The judges make a decision based upon the evidence before them. The main problem is that the parent's attorney doesn't bring evidence or doesn't challenge the evidence. And here's what I see a lot. And I tell attorneys that work with me, please don't do this unless, it's called for. But here's a trial. The prosecution introduces the social worker reports, marks them and introduces the reports. And then each attorney argues. Now in California, probably in New York, attorney argument is not evidence.
Correct.
So even if you had a decent case, if you don't put any evidence or affirmative defenses into evidence, witnesses, documentary evidence, you're going to lose by definition because the only evidence the court has is that social worker's report.
Mhm.
Now, Ms. G, I would submit to you that when that happens, that's not the judge's fault. That's the attorney's fault, right? Judges, aren't there, in my opinion, to tell people what to do. They're there to make decisions on disputed issues of fact and law. Now, if a judge sees that an attorney is doing something that is below the standard of care, is it the judge's responsibility to bring that up? I don't know.
But wait
You know,
now.
they have, that's what they say between conservatives and liberals. They want to liberals want an active judiciary, and conservatives want a conservative judiciary, but for the most part. So it doesn't, if you're a judge taking away someone's child, and you have to make the decision based upon the evidence before you. If the parent didn't put up any evidence, they're going to lose.
Right.
Now wait just a minute.
And here's a really sad thing. And I've noticed this. I've been doing this over 30 years, Michael. I see a lot of times that, and I talk to a lot of parents, they don't even realize what rights they have.
Right.
If I'm your attorney, Michael, and I tell you, oh man, you can't put on any witnesses, what are you going to do? You're not a lawyer. You don't have any experience. You're going to believe me.
Right.
And I'm going to sell you down the river so fast it'll make your head spin.
Yes.
But you don't know. And that's the problem. And that's why I do these shows, because I want people to know, at least the issues or, the things to ask their attorney. If you go to court and you don't have a witness, even if it's yourself, you as a parent have to get on the stand and testify.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be prepared to testify. You have to be prepped, and you have to be. It's a real process. I come from the prosecutor world, so all this stuff is. You go to trial, you bring your case, you put your evidence in, you prep your witnesses, and you go. Do you guys have a lot of private CPS lawyers in LA County?
A lot. I mean, it's relative. I would say no. It's all relative. We got like 10, 12 million people in the county.
Right.
And, I know most of them. There's always younger guys and gals that are getting into the business or getting into the practice that I don't know. But yeah, we kind of know each other. It's the same guys and gals all the time, on the private side. But when you go to the surrounding counties, there's even less and less.
Right.
Like San Bernardino or Riverside County or Ventura County or, San Diego, Orange County, there's less and less. There's always the same people usually. If you're going to hire a private attorney, you call the same maybe 10, 15 people.
You guys do a lot of driving. My God.
Yeah.
Well, we did before COVID, but since COVID, a lot of the courts in Southern California are, still allow you to appear online.
That's great.
So you have Zoom. So I did a hearing today in San Diego, but I was here. Now, yesterday I was in San Diego and for a deposition in a non-CPS case. Now, I could have done it by Zoom, but I wanted to be in front of this particular witness who happened to be on monitor for visitation. And I wanted to be in front of her because I felt, and she did give me good testimony about some issues. But yeah, you can do it from Zoom. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of counties up north, they require you, to be there in person on trials.
That's fine. That's fine. Right. I mean, that's.
Yeah. But and I may be getting this wrong, but we have a chief judge here who I thought said, during COVID, especially that if you wanted to appear online, or more people should be appearing online than going to court, because this whole Zoom thing and online thing turned out to be something good for everyone, not only the judges, the staff, the attorneys, the clients. You know, in LA County, it's so spread out. It's not like, you know, everything's close together in New York. I mean,
Right.
you could live an hour away from the courthouse in LA easily with traffic. So, you know, it's less expensive, and it was less expensive for the court. Less security, less staff needed, all that, less cleanup needed, all of that kind of stuff. So we're still doing them, going strong in LA County online. But for example, in the county right next door, Orange County, you pretty much have to go there. I mean, occasionally they'll let you appear online, but you know, it just depends
Is
on the
one
county.
county CPS better than the other?
Is what?
Is one county CPS better than the other, or are they all just awful? Like in New York, they're
all
all
awful.
Mrs. G, I think you're. I don't know. I think you're so deep in the game, Mr. Davis. What do you think?
Mr. Davis talk. You guys talk like you guys speak like an attorney. Obviously, okay. Look, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion because what I've seen.
When you're chasing people around Starbucks, I don't know because I don't know if I'm. You're a fundamentalist, which I love, but
But
I haven't chased anybody around Starbucks, but I will.
I've seen proof. I've seen.
Well, they're all awful, is what you're saying.
They're horrible. They're horrible. The three people I know, they're from different counties in LA. And they showed me the same exact thing. The supervisors, they become okay. How you become a supervisor in the Department of Children and Family Services by the amount of children you remove a year.
Right. You have the same.
That's how you become a supervisor.
You have the same websites I do. It's pretty funny. I have sueacs.com.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. When I'm done here, I'm gonna make you. Before I forget, I'm gonna make it. So I've been trying to get on my TikTok a national roster of CPS lawyers that are competent. No one's called me. No one's called me. So you're going to be the first one on my TikTok.
Hey, Michael, you know what? I tried to do the same thing a few years ago, and you'd be surprised. A lot of attorneys that practice in CPS don't want to be involved in something like that. And for many different reasons.
What are the reasons?
Well, one guy was honest with me, and he says, look, man, he says, I join forces with you, but I will get so much shit in my county that I think I'll be retaliated against, you know, by workers, by judges, whatever. And he didn't want to, you know, become vocal about it. And, you know, and as far as I was concerned, I respected that. Okay. It's not what I would do. Right. I am, you know, on the show talking about CPS, but some people don't want to do it. And you know, Miss G and I were talking about this the other day. Sometimes we look at the world as if it were through our own glasses.
Yeah.
And everyone doesn't look at the world like that. You know where I learned that from? Have you ever heard of an attorney by the name of Jerry Spence out of Wyoming?
He's a god to me.
Huh?
He's a god to me.
Right. Well, many years ago, I had the luck, and I was lucky enough to go to his trial lawyers college.
You went to that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man!
Yeah, I'm a graduate of the trial lawyers college. Now here I was even luckier because the trial lawyers college at that time did, you know, there were about 100 students there, and they broke us up into small groups. So we would have classes as one large group, or we do trainings in small groups, right? Well, my group leader was Jerry Spence.
Oh my God. How much time did you spend with him?
Like, you know, maybe 3 or 4 hours every day for almost a month.
I'm so jealous right now. Oh man. Has he passed away?
No, but here's the thing. There was, you know, like everything else in life, there was a fight at the executive level. The Trial Lawyers College is not owned or run by Jerry Spence anymore. Jerry left the college and has formed his own separate group called, I think it's called the Jerry Spence Method or the Spence Method. And, you know, all of this stuff that we learned with Jerry is based on something called psychodrama. And that's something about getting to the truth through action. Now, by the way, I want to tell you something. Before I started taking classes and went to the Trial Lawyers College, I had no idea what psychodrama was. None.
I've never heard of it.
Right. When you get off, Google it. So psychodrama is used in a lot of professions, not just law. And as a matter of fact, Jerry wasn't even the first person to apply it to law, but he became famous for it. And some of the greatest trial lawyers in the country, are graduates of the college. The reason why I'm telling you that is because, let me circle back. Jerry told us all the time, when you're in court, do not look at the case through your glasses, because if you do, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. And the question was, well, Jerry, how do we look at the case? Look at the case through the judge's eyes. Look at the case through in our case, the DA or the social worker's eyes. Look at the case through the witness's eyes. And here's something. Look at the case through the court reporter's eyes, through the clerk's eyes, through the bailiff's eyes.
Yeah, I always gauge bailiffs all the time.
So when you do that, you get a whole different perspective about the case, because our job is to win. And I tell this to people all the time, and it took Miss G a long time to accept this. Do you want me to win, or do you want to be right? Because you can only choose one. And if you choose to be right, we're probably going to lose, and you're not going to get your kids back. Now, let me ask you again. Do you want to win, or do you want to be right?
Yeah, that's right.
Vindicated, usually what they say. I want to be vindicated.
Can't have that. Can't have that.
That's not in the cards.
Right.
We're gonna win. We're gonna win. Nobody's gonna give you an apology. Nobody's gonna come and give you a hug. It's a beast that you're dealing with.
With Michael, though, I told him about one of our, famous person that you and I know about. And basically, by her saying, I want you to do it my way, Davis. I mean, Michael was telling me before the show started, I would be like, no, you're not the attorney. I'm the attorney. So we're doing it my way, period. There is no discussion, right? And he was telling me that if this person continues to do that, she would be like saying bye-bye to her. Like, I'm done.
It becomes tough
I mean,
sometimes.
I've seen it. It's crazy.
It's tough. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and fire the client, so to speak. But that's rare. Most people will follow our advice, because we know. I'm there to do a good job. I want to win. I want you to tell people that I did a good job. Our interests, my client and my interests are perfectly aligned, right? I mean, we want to win, and I have hundreds of happy clients, and it's really fulfilling. It's really great, and I love the antagonism. So I'm suing ACS in court, and I have a key witness that I need to depose, and they're trying to make me do a Zoom. And no, like you said, I want to be in front of this witness, right?
Yep.
And I made a motion to the court. We get into court, and this is a civil judge, so he doesn't know much about ACS. So he gets up, and his court clerk looks at ACS and goes, "You're doing it live. COVID's over." And the judge gets up and raises his arms, and he goes, "COVID is over. You're doing it live." And they flipped out. They're like, "Our policy is, well, your policy, and then there's my order."
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was awesome.
Michael, we've gone past our showtime.
Oh.
Before I forget, I posted your phone number earlier. So if you're looking for Michael's phone number, it's in the comments earlier on the page you're watching. Michael, what's your website?
acsattorney.com. What's your middle name? What's your middle letter?
W.
Vincent W. Davis. And this is the number you want me to post on TikTok?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, get ready.
Okay. Michael, here's something else I want to talk to you about. My goal is to try to reach 1 million people.
Me too.
And one of the best platforms to do that is social media.
No doubt.
How would you like to become a regular, even have your own show?
Lead the way, counsel.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And you can do it one time a week for 45 minutes to an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever you want. Now, here's something. I do this show, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7:45 p.m. I do it on weekends, 9:30 a.m. to about 10:15 a.m. And one of the things I found is that you develop a following. You develop people that have always have questions, and you also reach people that never heard of you.
Yep.
Right. And you help people, just the simple fact of don't speak to CPS. That's one of my videos, right? And that helps people. So whatever I can do, I'd love to come on with you guys once a week. I can definitely do that. And we can process and take it from there.
Okay, very good.
My TikTok and my YouTube and Instagram are all the same. NYC Law Guy.
Hey, Michael, I want to post this guy. See this guy right here, Matthew Harris Law, PLLC.
Yeah.
Okay, Matthew is a CPS attorney, defense attorney in Texas.
Great.
And he definitely knows what he's doing.
Great.
As a matter of fact,
video number 2.
As a matter of fact, I think he first appeared on one of my shows as a guest, and he, the popularity, everybody was, definitely digging him and giving him love. And Matthew, you may not know this, but I was checking you out on YouTube. Matthew now has his own YouTube channel where he talks about CPS cases, like I do and like you do. So, Michael, I am sure that if you put Matthew on, he's into it. He's definitely into it.
Give him my number, and I will chat with him.
Okay. Hey, Matthew, if you're still watching on YouTube, I want you to go to the comments when the show first started, because I posted Michael's number, and I also recently just posted his website, acsattorney.com.
How many people are usually on these shows?
Usually 25 or so people. But what happens is, because we get the statistics, a lot more people watch the rerun, afterwards. You might have 25 viewers during the live show, but you'll wake up 2 days from now and look at the stats, and you've got 300 views.
It's great.
So, and they're views of a long nature because they're trying to watch the whole show. So, I do it. We're trying to get information out there to help people. Now, here's the other thing, Michael and Matthew. Matthew wasn't really keen on this when I brought this up. I represent people in different states, pro hoc vice.
How do you make that work with scheduling? That's amazing.
If you're a one-man shop, it's hard.
Sure.
Yeah. But we have several people that work with us. So, sometimes I did a case not too long ago in North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina. I've done a case within the last couple of years up in Oregon, Bend, Oregon. So this CPS thing can take you many places, helping a lot of people. And the funny thing is, and it's not really funny, it's sad. It's the same everywhere.
That's what I started this TikTok thing on a whim, and I'm getting the stories are all the same. Just change the names in the States. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my tiny animal.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys.
I'm so glad you answered my call when I asked you. I was like, oh my God, I hope he agrees to it.
It's great. Thank you so much. This has been great. Be on the lookout. I'm going to post your video now. You're my first draftee. You're the number one draft pick.
Very good. I appreciate that, Michael. And Michael, we'll be in touch with you, making a regular.
And give Mr. Harris, that guy Harris, give him my number.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it to him as well too, Michael.
Okay. Harris is really a good guy. He really knows what he's doing legal wise in these CPS cases. I talked to him ad nauseum about it, and he definitely knows what he's doing.
Right, he's a fighter. He's a fighter.
Like you. To have a drink, Mrs. G. She called me DeSantis.
Hey, Michael, we're trying to get her a psychological evaluation, if you know what I mean.
Good luck with that. It's gonna come back.
All right, folks. Hey, Michael, thank you again. Miss G, thank you again.
Thank
And we'll
you.
see everybody tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
Check my TikTok in about 5 minutes.